Commander Kim Jae stared at the massive alien ship on his view screen. It was unlike anything humans had ever seen. The ship was at least 5 times bigger than his own vessel and shaped like a giant arrowhead. Strange blue lights pulsed along its dark hull. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked Lieutenant Cho, her voice tight with tension. Kim took a deep breath. The year was 2087, and humanity had spread to 12 star systems over the past 50 years. But in all that time, they had never met another intelligent species. Until today. "Keep weapons powered down," Kim said. "Send the standard greeting package on all frequencies." The bridge of the UES Defender fell silent as the crew waited. Kim's patrol squadron of 3 ships had been performing routine scans at the edge of human space when they detected the unknown vessel approaching at incredible speed. "Sir, they're responding." Lieutenant Cho's eyes widened as strange symbols flashed across her screen. "The computer is trying to translate." Before Kim could respond, the alien ship launched a small pod that quickly approached the Defender. "It's not armed," reported the tactical officer. "It appears to be a communication device." The pod stopped 50 meters from the Defender and projected a hologram into space, a tall, slender figure with 4 arms and gray-blue skin. Its large eyes blinked slowly as it studied the human ship. "We are the HFY Empire," the figure spoke, its words translated by the pod into slightly stilted English. "You have entered Imperial space. Identify yourselves." Kim squared his shoulders and stepped forward. "I am Commander Kim Jae of the United Earth Defense Force. We were unaware this region belonged to your empire. We come in peace." The alien's expression was hard to read, but something like surprise seemed to cross its features. "You developed faster than light travel, independently?" it asked. "Yes," Kim replied. 30 years ago." Without another word, the hologram vanished. Moments later, the alien ship turned and accelerated away at impossible speed. "Sir," Lieutenant Cho looked concerned. "What just happened?" Kim frowned. "Contact Admiral Ta immediately. I think we may have just met our new neighbors, and I'm not sure they're friendly." Admiral Ta's son paced around the circular table in Earth's Central Command. The emergency meeting had drawn all the top military and civilian leaders to Seoul, which had become Earth's capital after the Unification War. "So they just scanned us and left?" asked General Park, a stocky man with a perpetual scowl. "That doesn't sound good." "Commander Kim's report indicates they seem surprised by our technology level," Admiral Ta said. "Particularly that we developed FTL travel on our own." President Lin of the United Earth government stood up. "We need to prepare for all possibilities. If these HFY return, we must be ready for either diplomacy or defense. I recommend we immediately begin reinforcing our border colonies," General Park said. "New Seoul is our most exposed settlement. We should evacuate non-essential personnel." "Isn't that an overreaction?" asked Minister Wang, the head of the Science Council. "We shouldn't assume hostile intent." Admiral Tai held up his hand. "Actually, I agree with General Park. Commander Kim's instincts are usually right, and he felt threatened. As the old saying goes, hope for peace, prepare for war." "Very well," President Lin nodded. "But let's be discreet about it. If they do come back looking for peaceful relations, I don't want our first impression to be one of fear." Emperor Voss of the HFY Empire sat on his crystalline throne aboard the capital ship Eternal Dominance. At 4 meters tall, he towered over most of his species, his extra pair of arms marking him as royal-born. "Show me these humans again," he ordered. Chief Strategist Lox, a thin HFY with cybernetic enhancements covering half his face, activated a hologram showing Commander Kim's ship and the brief communication. "Most concerning, Your Eminence," Lox said. "This species has achieved space travel, colonized multiple systems, and developed FTL capabilities entirely on their own. In our 8,000 years of Imperial history, we have never encountered such a thing." Another member of the Imperial Council, Science Director Mev, stepped forward. Our probes have gathered data on their civilization. They call their homeworld Earth. They are extremely adaptable and have a concerning history of warfare. Emperor Voss narrowed his large eyes. How extensive is their territory? 12 star systems, Lox replied. Small compared to our 300 systems, but they colonized them in just 50 years. Their expansion rate is unprecedented. Voss stood, all four arms clasped behind his back, as he studied the star map. And what do our cultural analysts say about them? Science Director Mev activated another display. They are highly individualistic, innovative, and aggressive when threatened. Unlike other species we've incorporated into the Empire, they united their planet themselves instead of through our guidance. Their technological progress is accelerating at an alarming rate. What do you recommend? Voss asked Lox. The chief strategist didn't hesitate. Preemptive action, Your Eminence. All other species we've encountered were primitive when discovered. We guided their development, ensuring loyalty to the Empire from the beginning. These humans have developed independently. They will not easily accept imperial authority. You suggest war? Emperor Voss asked, though he already knew the answer. I suggest a demonstration of overwhelming force, Lox replied. Show them our might, demand their surrender, and if they resist, strike decisively. Better to deal with them now than wait until they grow stronger. Emperor Voss walked to the viewport and gazed at the stars. 300 species bowed to the Aksiri Empire. These humans would be no different. Prepare a battle fleet, he commanded. But first, send them our standard ultimatum. Perhaps they will be wise enough to submit without bloodshed. Professor Songji worked late in her lab at the Tokyo Advanced Research Center. As Earth's leading expert on theoretical xenobiology, she had been called in the moment Commander Kim's report reached Earth. Professor, you need to see this, her assistant said, rushing into the lab. An alien ship just appeared in orbit, much bigger than the one Commander Kim encountered. Song hurried to the observation deck. Through the massive telescope, she could see it. A colossal vessel shaped like a trident, surrounded by smaller ships. Her comm unit beeped. It was a direct call from Admiral Ta. Professor, we need you at Central Command immediately. The Aksiri have sent a message to all human worlds simultaneously. Within an hour, Song sat in the emergency council room with Earth's leaders, watching the translated message from the Aksiri Empire. An imposing alien appeared on screen. Emperor Voss, they learned. His message was direct. People of Earth and her colonies. The Aksiri Empire has ruled this sector of the galaxy for 8,000 years. 300 species prosper under our guidance and protection. We offer you the same opportunity. Submit to imperial authority, and you will be welcomed as a protectorate species. Resist, and you will be subjugated by force. You have 30 days to consider this generous offer. We await your answer. When the message ended, the room erupted in angry voices. This is outrageous, shouted General Park. They expect us to just surrender our independence. President Lin raised her hands for quiet. Let's be realistic. We know nothing about their military capabilities. How can we possibly stand against an empire of 300 species? Admiral Ta spoke calmly. Madam President, with respect, humanity has never bowed to threats. We've fought wars against ourselves that nearly destroyed our planet. We survived and rebuilt. We reached the stars through our own ingenuity. I don't believe surrender is an option our people would accept. Professor Song studied the data from the Aksiri transmission. There's something interesting here, she said. The message speaks of guidance and protection, but the tone suggests control rather than partnership. I wonder if these 300 species are allies or subjects. General Park nodded grimly. Subjects, without a doubt. And they expect us to become the 301st. We need more information, Admiral Ta said. And we need to prepare. 30 days isn't much time. President Lin looked around the table, seeing determination on every face. Very well. We will not surrender our freedom without a fight. Admiral Ta, General Park, mobilize our defenses. Professor Song, learn everything you can about the Axiri. If war is coming, we need every advantage we can get. As the meeting adjourned, Admiral Ta pulled Professor Song aside. Do you think we have any chance against them? Song thought for a moment. They've existed for 8,000 years, which suggests stability. Stability can breed complacency, and they seemed surprised by our FTL technology, which means we might have other surprises for them too. Admiral Ta smiled slightly. You're saying we're unpredictable? Exactly, Song nodded. And in my experience, unpredictability can be a powerful advantage. 30 days to prepare for a war against a galactic empire. Humanity's greatest challenge had begun. Professor Songjai hadn't slept in 3 days. Her lab in Tokyo was filled with holographic displays, showing the limited data they had on the Axiri. She rubbed her tired eyes and took another sip of coffee. I think I found something, she said to her team of scientists. Look at their communication patterns. On the main screen, she displayed the signal analysis from the Axiri ultimatum message. Their technology uses a very specific frequency range, she explained. Much narrower than what we use. This suggests their sensory systems might be limited compared to ours. Her assistant, Dr. Park, looked skeptical. How does that help us? They still have an empire of 300 systems. Song smiled. Every advantage matters. If they can't detect certain frequencies, we might be able to communicate and even attack in ways they can't perceive. She sent her findings to Admiral Ta immediately. It wasn't much, but with only 20 days left before the Axiri deadline, humanity needed every edge they could find. In Seoul, Han-Du worked with his engineering team in a massive underground facility. As Earth's top weapons designer, he had been given unlimited resources to develop defenses against the Axiri. Try it again, he told his team. They were testing a new shield modulation based on Professor Song's discovery about Axiri sensory limitations. A powerful energy beam hit the test shield. Previous versions had failed after 3 seconds. This one held for 10 before collapsing. Better, Han said, but not good enough. We need to make it last at least 30 seconds to give our ships a fighting chance. His assistant, Ji-Soo, suggested, what if we pulse the shield instead of keeping it steady? Professor Song's data shows the Axiri used consistent energy patterns. Maybe varying hours will confuse their targeting systems. Han's eyes lit up. Let's try it. The next test ran for 45 seconds before the shield failed. Start production immediately, Han ordered. And get this upgrade to all our ships. We don't have much time. Admiral Ta stood before the United Earth Council. Representatives from all human colonies were present, either in person or via hologram. The chamber was silent as they awaited humanity's official response to the Axiri ultimatum. The 30-day deadline would expire tomorrow. The Defense Force is as ready as it can be, Admiral Ta reported. All civilian evacuations from border colonies are complete. New Seoul has been rigged with nuclear mines as a last resort if we can't hold it. President Lin nodded grimly. And our answer to the Empire. Admiral Ta looked around the room. I believe I speak for most when I say that humanity will not surrender its freedom. We've prepared a response stating that while we are open to peaceful relations, we will not accept subjugation. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would stand and fight. Emperor Voss received the human response with quiet anger. The small delegation of Axiri officers watched nervously as their leader read the message. They refuse, he said simply. They speak of peace while rejecting our generous offer. Chief Strategist Locke bowed. As expected, Your Eminence, these humans showed the same stubborn independence we detected in our initial scans. Prepare the fleet, Emperor Voss ordered. Begin with their colony, New Seoul. A swift demonstration of our power should bring them to their senses. Locke smiled coldly. The battle plan is already prepared. Our forces will arrive at New Seoul tomorrow. The humans will learn what it means to defy the Empire. Commander Kim Jae's squadron waited in the asteroid field near New Seoul. His 3 ships were hidden among the rocks, engines powered down to avoid detection. HFY fleet entering the system, reported Lieutenant Cho. 15 warships, including 1 dreadnought. Kim watched on the tactical display as the Imperial fleet moved with perfect formation toward New Seoul. They had no idea the colony had been evacuated and transformed into a trap. All ships maintain position, Kim ordered. Wait for the signal. On New Seoul, automated defense systems activated as the HFY fleet entered orbit. The Imperial ships began bombing the surface, destroying empty buildings and infrastructure. They think they're attacking a populated colony, Lieutenant Cho said with grim satisfaction. Kim nodded. Let's hope they take the bait and land ground forces. Sure enough, after an hour of bombardment, the HFY fleet launched transport ships toward the surface. They were going to claim their prize. Now, Kim ordered. From the command center on Earth, Admiral Ta gave the activation code. The nuclear mines planted throughout New Seoul detonated simultaneously. The massive explosion engulfed the landing forces and reached high enough to damage several HFY ships in low orbit. Move, Kim ordered his squadron. While the HFY fleet was in disarray, his ships emerged from hiding and attacked the damaged vessels. The new shield modulation worked perfectly, allowing them to survive the initial counterattack. Kim's squadron destroyed 3 Imperial ships before the HFY could organize their defenses. Then, as planned, the human vessels jumped to light speed, disappearing before the Empire could launch a proper pursuit. In the HFY command ship, an officer reported to Chief Strategist Locks with fear in his eyes. Sir, we've lost 4 ships. The colony was evacuated and rigged to explode. Locke's cybernetic eye glowed red with anger. These humans are more cunning than we expected. Where did their attack ships go? We don't know. They disappeared from our sensors. Locks slammed his fist on the console. Find them. And prepare a full report for Emperor Voss. Meanwhile, Commander Kim's squadron had arrived at their second target, an HFY communication relay on the edge of Imperial space. Using Professor Song's discoveries about HFY technology, they approached on frequencies the aliens couldn't detect. Ready the virus package, Kim ordered. His ships fired special missiles containing a computer virus designed to disable the relay. The HFY defenses didn't even activate before the missiles struck. Virus deployed, reported Lieutenant Cho. The relay is going offline. Kim allowed himself a small smile. That will slow down their communications. Admiral Tae's strategy is working. The strategy was simple but effective. Avoid direct confrontation with the numerically superior Imperial forces while striking at vulnerable infrastructure. Cut off their ability to coordinate, then hit and run. Back on Earth, Admiral Ta received reports of successful strikes against HFY targets across human space. We've bloodied their nose, General Park said, but they'll be back with more ships. Admiral Ta nodded. That's why we're not trying to hold territory. Our ships have orders to strike and retreat over and over. We need to frustrate them, make this war too costly. Professor Song entered the command center with new information. Admiral, our analysis of captured HFY technology confirms my theory. Their visual and sensor range is much narrower than ours. They literally can't see certain things we can see. Can we exploit this weakness? General Park asked. Handu is already modifying our stealth systems, Song confirmed. We should be able to make ships that are completely invisible to HFY sensors. Admiral Ta looked at the galactic map showing the vast HFY empire compared to human territory. The odds were overwhelming. But for the first time, he felt a glimmer of hope. Keep pushing, keep adapting, he told his officers. The Empire has never faced an enemy like us. Emperor Voss received the reports of the initial defeats with cold fury. The human tactics were nothing like the Empire had faced before. After 8,000 years of easy victories, the HFY military had grown complacent. These humans, he growled to his council, They fight like no species we've encountered. They abandoned a valuable colony just to damage our fleet. They strike and disappear. They use every dirty trick instead of facing us directly. Chief Strategist Lox bowed deeply. I take full responsibility for underestimating them, Your Eminence, but this is merely a setback. The full might of the Empire has not yet been deployed. Emperor Voss stood to his full height, towering over his advisors. Enough games. I declare total war on humanity. Deploy the main fleet. I want every human world under our control within 6 months, no matter the cost. The Imperial Council members looked at each other nervously. The Emperor had never before committed the full Imperial military to a single conflict. It will be done, Lox promised, though doubt had begun to creep into his mind. These humans were proving to be far more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. The war had only just begun, and already the mighty Aksiri Empire had tasted something unfamiliar: defeat. 6 months passed. The war had spread across human space. Earth's government had turned all industries toward making weapons and ships. Factories worked day and night. Everyone had a job to do in the war effort. Handu stood in his new workshop beneath the mountains of what used to be Canada. Around him, engineers built weapons based on Aksiri technology the human forces had captured in battle. The new fighters are ready, he told Admiral Tai through a secure video link. They use the stealth system that makes them invisible to Aksiri sensors, and the weapons are 3 times more powerful than our old ones. Admiral Ta nodded on screen. Despite the pressure of leading humanity's defense, he remained calm. How many can you make each month? 50, Han replied. Not enough to match their numbers, but enough to keep hurting them. Good. We don't need to match their fleet size. We just need to make this war too painful for them to continue. The call ended, and Han turned to Ji Su, now his chief assistant. Let's get back to work. I have an idea for a new virus that might disable their ship systems. Li Nin had never wanted to be a soldier. Before the war, she had worked as a spy for a large Earth corporation, stealing secrets from business rivals. Now her skills were needed for something much more important. She sat in a small room on a captured Aksiri scout ship, studying alien language patterns. Her team had spent months learning to speak, read, and look like the Aksiri. Today would be the ultimate test. Remember, she told her 5 team members, we only need to pass as Aksiri long enough to reach their command center. Professor Song's disguises will fool their scanners, but don't speak unless necessary. The team wore special suits that made them appear taller and gave them 4 arms instead of 2. Their skin was covered with a thin layer that matched Aksiri coloring. Ship approaching the Imperial checkpoint, the pilot announced. Li took a deep breath. Everyone ready. If we succeed, we might find a way to end this war. The team's ship transmitted fake identification codes as it approached the massive Aksiri space station. This station controlled all Imperial military operations in the sector nearest to human space. Identification accepted, the pilot said with relief. We're being directed to Docking Bay 7. Li nodded. Phase 1 complete. Now comes the hard part. Captain Kang checked the systems on his new ship, the Defiance. It was humanity's most advanced vessel, built with everything Handu, and his team had learned about Aksiri technology. All systems green, reported his first officer. Stealth drive functioning perfectly. The Aksiri won't see us coming. Kang looked at his crew, all chosen for this special mission. Our orders are clear. We need to deploy Handu's new virus into the heart of the Aksiri fleet communications network. If we succeed, their ships won't be able to coordinate attacks for weeks. The crew understood the risks. They would be flying deep into Imperial territory, farther than any human ship had gone before. Set course for the Aksiri Central Command, Kang ordered. Maximum stealth. The Defiance disappeared from normal space, its advanced drive making it invisible to all known detection systems. Professor Songji worked with her team to analyze data from captured Aksiri ships and communication systems. After months of research, she had made an incredible discovery. Admiral Tai, she explained during an emergency meeting, the Aksiri control their empire through fear, but also through technology. They use special signals to make other species obey them. She displayed a brain scan on the large screen. These are the effects of long-term exposure to Aksiri control signals. They literally program the brains of conquered species to feel fear and obedience. General Park frowned. Mind control? Not exactly, Song replied. More like constant psychological conditioning. And I believe I can create a counter-signal that would break their control. Admiral Tai leaned forward. You're saying we could free the species they've enslaved? Song nodded. If we can broadcast this counter-signal across their empire, yes, it would cause widespread rebellion. The Aksiri would have to fight on hundreds of fronts, not just against us. For the first time since the war began, Admiral Ta smiled. How soon can you have it ready? Li Nin's team moved carefully through the Aksiri command station. Their disguises had worked so far, but they had to be careful not to attract attention. The main computer center is on the next level, Li whispered. 2 guards at the entrance. Her teammate, Jin, adjusted his translator. I can imitate an Imperial officer. I'll tell them we're there for maintenance. The bluff worked. Inside the computer center, the team quickly accessed the Aksiri military network. Li connected a special device created by Handude to download the Empire's battle plans and ship deployments. Download complete, she said after a tense few minutes. Now let's get out of here. As they turned to leave, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the station. Intruder alert, came an announcement in the Aksiri language. Human agents detected in Section 12. That's not us, Li realized. We're in Section 8. There must be another human team on the station. Change of plans, she told her team. The confusion gives us an opportunity. Let's head for the prison section instead of the exit. Captain Kane's ship emerged from stealth near a massive Aksiri communication hub. The facility was shaped like a giant sphere, with thousands of signal relays extending outward like spines. No signs they've detected us, the tactical officer reported. We're in position to deploy the virus. Kang gave the order. Launch the payload. The Defiance fired a specially designed missile toward the hub. Instead of exploding, it attached to the outer hull and began transmitting Handu's virus into the Aksiri network. Virus deployment successful, the science officer announced. It's spreading through their system. Suddenly, alarms blared on the Defiance. Captain, we've been detected. 3 Aksiri cruisers approaching from behind the moon. Kang remained calm. The mission is complete. Prepare for emergency jump. We need to get this information back to Earth. Admiral Tai and General Park stood in Earth's Central Command Center, watching as reports came in from across the front lines. Li Nin's team has transmitted the Aksiri battle plans, an officer reported, and they freed over 200 prisoners from 20 different species who were being held for questioning. Captain Kang reports the virus was successfully deployed, said another. Aksiri fleet communications are already showing signs of failure. General Park studied the strategic display. This is our chance. If we hit them now, while they're confused and can't coordinate. Admiral Ta nodded. Initiate Operation Thunderstrike. All available ships to target these key Imperial installations. He highlighted several points on the map. And prepare to broadcast Professor Song's counter-signal. Emperor Voss raged as reports of failures poured in. His once perfect military machine was falling apart. How is this possible? He demanded. They're just one species. We control 300. Chief Strategist Locks had no good answers. The humans fight like nothing we've seen before, Your Eminence. They don't follow normal battle doctrine. They strike where we're weak, then disappear. They've turned our own technology against us, and now they're freeing our subjects, added another council member. We've received reports of rebellions on 12 worlds. Emperor Voss smashed his fist against his throne. I want every ship we have to converge on their main colony at Alpha Centauri. We will crush them with overwhelming force." Lox hesitated. "Your Eminence, our ships are having trouble communicating. Some kind of virus has infected our networks." "I don't care," Voss shouted. "Send the orders by courier if necessary. I want the humans destroyed." The Battle of Alpha Centauri began 3 days later. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. 500 Axiri ships against 200 human vessels. But the humans had advantages the Axiri didn't expect. Their ships could communicate perfectly, while the Imperial fleet struggled with infected systems. Human vessels could see the Axiri, but many human ships remained invisible to Imperial sensors. And most importantly, half the Axiri ships had crews from conquered species who had just heard Professor Song's countersignal. As the battle raged, dozens of Imperial ships suddenly turned their weapons on other Axiri vessels. Admiral Ta watched from his flagship. "The countersignal is working. The enslaved species are rebelling." By the end of the day, the mighty Imperial fleet was in ruins, over 300 ships destroyed or captured. The rest fled in disarray. Humanity had achieved the impossible, a decisive victory against the most powerful empire the galaxy had ever known. As Admiral Tai surveyed the aftermath, General Park stood beside him. "Is this the beginning of the end for the Empire?" Admiral Ta nodded. "Yes. But our work isn't done. Now we need to free every species under Axiri control." The war had reached its turning point. The hunters had become the hunted. 1 month after the Battle of Alpha Centauri, Emperor Voss sat alone in his throne room. The grand chamber that once hosted representatives from 300 worlds was empty except for his Imperial guards. News of defeat after defeat had shaken the Empire to its core. "Your Eminence," a nervous aide entered and bowed deeply. "Chief Strategist Lox requests an urgent meeting with the Imperial Council." Emperor Voss waved a hand. "Send them in." The council members entered, led by Lox. The cybernetic implants on his face glowed dimly in the large room. None of the council members would meet the Emperor's eyes. "Speak," Voss commanded. Lox stepped forward. "Your Eminence, we face an unprecedented crisis. 37 worlds have declared independence from the Empire. Our forces are stretched too thin to respond to all rebellions." Another council member added, "The humans continue to broadcast their countersignal. More species break free from our control each day." "And what do you suggest?" Emperor Voss asked coldly. Lox hesitated before speaking. "The Imperial Council believes we must sue for peace with the humans. We cannot win this war on so many fronts." Voss stood suddenly, his massive frame towering over the council. "Peace. Surrender to a single species. The Empire has ruled for 8,000 years. And it may still rule for thousands more," Lox replied carefully. "But not if we continue this war. The humans do not seek to destroy us, only to free the other species. If we make peace now, we can save the core of the Empire." Emperor Voss looked at the faces of his council. He saw something he had never seen before in his advisors: fear. "Leave me," he ordered. "I will consider your recommendation." After they left, Voss walked to the great window overlooking the Imperial capital. The once proud city was now filled with nervous citizens. Ships that should be defending the Empire were instead protecting the homeworld from potential attack. For the first time in his long life, Emperor Voss faced the possibility of defeat. Admiral Kim Jae, promoted after his many victories, stood on the bridge of Earth's newest flagship, the Liberator. Around his ship, a fleet of 500 vessels prepared for the final push into the heart of the Axiri Empire. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority message from Earth," his communications officer reported. On the main screen, Admiral Tai appeared. "Admiral Kim, hold your position. We've received a communication from Emperor Voss himself. He wishes to discuss terms of surrender." Kim couldn't hide his surprise. "Surrender? Are we sure this isn't a trap?" "We're being cautious," Admiral Tai assured him. But our intelligence suggests the Empire is collapsing from within. Locke and several other council members have attempted to overthrow Voss. The Imperial military is divided. Kim nodded. What are my orders? Proceed to the designated coordinates for the peace talks, but keep the fleet at full alert. You will represent humanity at this historic meeting. As the transmission ended, Kim felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. From first contact to potentially accepting the surrender of a galactic empire, all in less than a year. Li Min worked tirelessly to coordinate the various rebellions across the Aksiri Empire. From her new position as head of the Liberation Network, she communicated with resistance leaders from dozens of species. The Aksiri defenses in the Orion sector have collapsed, reported a resistance leader from a reptilian species called the Vex. 3 more worlds are free. Li updated the galactic map on her screen. Nearly half the Empire had broken away now. Any word from the Brill system? She asked. A tall, blue-skinned being nodded. My people have control of the main planets. The remaining Aksiri forces have retreated to their military bases. Don't attack those bases directly, Li advised. Wait for human ships to arrive with the specialized weapons. We want to minimize casualties on all sides. Her assistant entered with urgent news. Emperor Voss has requested peace talks with humanity. Admiral Kim will represent us. Li studied the map again. Make sure all resistance groups know about the peace talks. Tell them to hold their positions but prepare for any outcome. The Aksiri might be using this as a distraction for a counterattack. Professor Songjay stood with Handu in Earth's Central Command, watching as reports came in from across the galaxy. Your counter-signal changed everything, Han said. Without it, we might have won the war eventually, but the Empire would have remained intact. Song shook her head. The Aksiri were doomed the moment they declared war on us, not because we're stronger or smarter, but because we understand freedom in a way they never could. What do you mean? Han asked. The Aksiri built their empire on control and fear, Song explained. They never understood that willing allies are stronger than fearful subjects. Humanity united because we wanted to, not because we were forced to. Admiral Ta joined them. Professor Song is right, and now we need to build something better than the Empire, a true alliance of free species. Admiral Kim's flagship approached the meeting point, a neutral space station at the edge of what was once undisputed Imperial territory. A single Aksiri vessel waited there, the massive personal ship of Emperor Voss. We're being hailed, the communications officer reported. On screen, Kim ordered. Emperor Voss appeared, looking less imposing than in his previous broadcasts. Admiral Kim, I am prepared to discuss the terms of this conflict's resolution. Kim noted that Voss avoided the word surrender. My government has authorized me to negotiate, Kim replied. We propose a meeting aboard this station with equal security details. The Emperor agreed, and 2 hours later, they sat across from each other in the station's conference room. Only a small table separated the leader of the 8,000-year-old empire from the representative of humanity. You have achieved what no other species has ever done, Voss said. You have broken the Aksiri Empire. Kim kept his expression neutral. The empire broke itself. Your Eminence, it was built on control rather than cooperation. And what would humans build in its place? Voss asked. A galactic council, Kim replied, where all species have equal voice, where no one rules through fear or mind control. Voss was silent for a long moment. And the Aksiri? What place would we have in this council? The same as everyone else, Kim said. One voice among many. Your knowledge and technology would be valuable, but you would need to earn trust again. The Emperor's large eyes studied Kim carefully. And if I refuse these terms? Then the war continues, Kim said simply, but not just against humanity, against every species seeking freedom from imperial control. Emperor Voss knew he had no choice. His empire was fracturing by the hour. Better to salvage what remained than lose everything. I will sign your treaty, he said finally. The HFY Empire surrenders to humanity and recognizes the independence of all subject worlds. 1 year later, Admiral Ta stood with Kim, Professor Song, Han Du, Li Min, and representatives from 50 former Imperial worlds on the newly constructed Galactic Council Station. The massive circular chamber allowed delegates from all species to meet as equals. Today marks a new beginning, Admiral Ta told the assembled delegates. Not an empire, but a partnership of free worlds. The Galactic Council was formally established that day. Humanity, the youngest spacefaring species, now helped lead the oldest government in known space. After the ceremony, a young HFY child approached Commander Kim. The child was part of the first HFY delegation to the council. My teacher said you led the forces that defeated our empire, the child said. Why did humans fight so hard? You could have surrendered and saved many lives. Kim knelt to look the child in the eyes. Throughout human history, we learned one important lesson. Freedom is worth fighting for, not just our own freedom, but the freedom of all who are oppressed. Is that what makes humans strong? The child asked. Kim smiled. No. What makes us strong is knowing when to fight and when to make peace. Your people built an empire that lasted 8,000 years. Now, together, we can build something that lasts even longer. As the HFY child considered this, delegates from a dozen worlds approached to speak with the human heroes. The day the Galactic Empire declared war on humanity had changed the course of galactic history forever. In trying to subjugate one species, the HFY had instead freed hundreds. And in the process, they had helped create something better than an empire. A true community of worlds, united not by fear, but by choice.